are you doing? Can you hear my fan? It's still a bit warm in Japan, but it's been raining all day. But I thought I'd pop on because I've arranged to do a session with my buddy Rich, who should be on at some point. I know most of you are probably going to be over with Mike's live, but that's fine because this isn't really for everyone, I guess. I said it's only if you're interested in history or you're interested in English language. Maybe this will give you some interest. But yeah, today we're going to do a bit of history. Tad bit of history about England. Hi from Morocco, great to see you. Where are you from, guys? Put it in the comments, yeah? I want to know. Where are you from? Just chuck it in there. We're going to do a tad bit. There you go. I'll give you a nice piece of vocabulary to start us off with. A tad is a little of something. Oh, I got a book under this. Oh, I need a new stand, I guess. Yeah, a tad is just a little of something. So I just said a tad bit. A bit is also a little of something. So it's not the best combination of words, but I don't know. That's what I always use. Because I'm weird. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a little bit about history, actually. History of England, about when the Romans came over and did their business and left. So, and how that affected the language. Albeit, though, it doesn't really affect English too much. Funnily enough, you would think it would do because the amount of Roman words within the English language, but otherwise it doesn't really. Hi Gemma, nice to see you, buddy. Yeah, today's all about a bit about English history. I got a friend coming in who's going to help us with this. He's just finishing off a lesson. How's your day though, guys? And what do you know about England? Tell me what you know about England. Put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Tell me what you think. Tell me some fact about England. Guys, if you don't know, let's see who's... If you don't know Gemma, go and follow it because I'm a bad person. If you don't know English with Gemma, go follow her. She puts out some great content. Yes. Mike, Ali, and Rupert are live. Had a minute. If you want to go see them. Hi, Christy. Nice to see you. It's cold. That is definitely a true fact about England. The Romans tried to invade England many times. They did invade quite a few times. It's true. You love Bath. Is that a fact as well? Good. What we know about England is that England got robbed by the Scots. I think it works both ways, that one, actually, that comment. To be honest, I think there's a lot of robbing from both sides. You visited Hadrian's Wall. That's actually pretty cool. I want to go there. I haven't been there. England is a small country and it's an island. Actually, England itself isn't an island on its own. Britain is an island. But England is actually it's got some land connected to it, Scotland and Wales, so it's technically not a solid island on its own, but it's definitely part of an island. Albert is now my subject, so that's interesting. Awesome. Hiya, buddy.
Hello everyone. Hello Stu. Thank you very much.
No worries. First of all, guys, I just got to give an apology to Rich because we've been trying to organise this for a while, and I've just been so busy, and he's been very patient with me. And we did the first mini.
You're a family guy, Stu. You're a family guy. Come on.
Not the fat family guy, hopefully. Although he does have a son called Stu as well. Yeah, so I appreciate the patience you've had. Thank you very much. Do you want to tell people a bit about yourself, Rich? And
yes, of course. Yes, of course. Hello everyone. I'm Rich English. I'm an English teacher. I teach English. I'm a teacher of English as a foreign language. I'm from Hungary. Yes, I know. Hungary, I know. Yes. I'm from Budapest. I live in Budapest. That's the capital city of Hungary. I used to live in the UK for 3.5 years in the northern part of of the UK. Very, I wouldn't say very close to, but it's definitely closer to the Scottish border than London. And yeah, I've been teaching English for about 20 years now. Basically, that's it.
Okay, excellent. And in terms of your journey, just a quick background, your journey through English, obviously you're very proficient now, but how long would you say it took you to get to where you are now?
I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and
Me
it's
too, 100%.
it's a journey. It's like a 28-year-old journey. I would say.
I ask you because
28.
I think like your story can inspire people, actually, to be honest with you, because
Oh, thank you.
obviously
No, I'm
someone
not British.
no,
I'm
so
not
that's the key thing. But you have a very strong British accent because of hard work. You know, obviously being there was a factor, but I think hard work has more to do with it than just living there. So that's a quite inspiring thing to tell people about.
Thank you.
But the key thing we're talking about today is about the Romans. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Claudius.
you're excited
Claudius.
about this, yeah?
I am. That's my second favorite part in English history, actually, and the history of the English language.
Is it more? Is this part of the Roman? This part of the period of time within English history? Is this because of the Roman history altogether, or is it because of this specific area of time where they settled in Britain?
I would say both of them, and there's a third one. You know, the impact and the influence Latin had on British and still has on British. Because, for example, when I teach my students, I always tell them, if you know a lot of Latin words, your English can be easier. Because it's about 65-70% of the English vocabulary actually comes from Latin.
That's right.
So I'm from Hungary, which is not a Latin-based language, and that's why for Hungarian, English and any kind of Latin-based languages like Spanish, Italian, and French, and Romanian, I think, as well. It's difficult to fathom and to comprehend. And when I point out this small but really pivotal fact, I think, and oh yeah, exactly, like university is kind of like Universidad, or Trinity is like Trinidad, and things like yeah, and they make the connection and they start learning easier.
Yeah, I have a Moldovan student who uses Romanian and Russian, and obviously Latin heavily influences English. It's like 60% is a mixture of French words and Latin words, and French comes from Latin, so you could potentially say all of Latin in a sense, you know, although there's a lot of sound changes and meaning alterations after Latin gets incorporated into French. But the interesting thing to me is definitely how widespread it is. Like you say, Romanian is obviously heavily influenced of French, Spanish, Italian.
There's Gianfranco here, and he says, I speak Spanish, and English was easy to understand. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Agua, it's kind of the same, isn't it?
It's mainly the what we would call advanced vocabulary then, which is the interesting part. So if you happen to be from Europe or a Spanish or Portuguese, Italian or French speaking country, you'll probably see some similarities. So that covers quite a lot of the world, to be honest. So if you're in those places, you're quite lucky, I think. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I don't know. I know. How has he got in? There's a fly in my room. Never mind. I know that. Well, let's get into it anyway, rather than skirting around the subject too much. So, in terms of where do you want to start? Because should we talk a little bit about
Julius
Caesar,
Julius Caesar, you know, the two botched invasions first, and then Claudius made.
So, obviously, just a bit of background for anyone who's joining this live. There was, before the Romans invaded, there were some original tribes, and there was some Celtic people living throughout Britain. For ease, I'm going to just say Celtic tribes, but there would have been some British, well, not necessarily British at that point. There would have been some native people already there, but they probably would be absorbed into most Celtic tribes by this point.
Like the Britons, for example.
The ones
That's
who
where
become the Britons. Yeah.
Britannia comes from, actually.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. And obviously Brittany in northern France, which is a bit further along the line. But yeah, definitely. It's interesting how there obviously people were surviving there. So do you have any insight into why the Romans wanted to take a slice of the British pie?
I saw a lot of videos, and one of the videos said that, first of all, it was a mysterious island, and they thought it was the edge, the end of the world, or something like this. And the other, I would say, venture was that from the Celtic tribes, maybe the Britons, I'm not sure, but they were in contact, through Gaul, because Julius Caesar, the Gallic Wars, like Vercingetorix and things like that. Right. A lot of Celtic tribes actually ventured through the Channel into Britain, or I wouldn't say Britain that time, because there was no name for it.
Yeah.
It's just islands, mysterious islands. And they were in contact, trading and things like that. And the Romans thought that this mysterious island is like full of metal, full of bounty, and they just wanted to pillage it or something like this.
Definitely, the Romans. There's a few different reasons from the research I've done. Is that one of the reasons that Julius Caesar gives is that he thinks whilst he was fighting with Gaul, which is part of France, in case you don't know, basically above Italy, a region that was called Gaul at the time, and obviously expanded to be majority of France at some point. But during that period of time, apparently some of the people living in England actually came over to the continent and were mercenaries for the Gaul tribes. And he said that was a reason. But actually one of the reasons is he thought that Britain had pearls on there, which is interesting because...
And the White Cliffs of Dover as well was kind of like this shiny, bright, white island, which is mysterious. There's fog everywhere, and forest and wilderness, and it's full of metal, pearls, and priceless, I don't know, bounty, whatsoever exactly.
Yeah, some kind of treasure that they can get. But yeah, they thought pearls, but obviously there's no pearls, but we do have some natural resources like tin, and that time of
copper as well.
A copper, yeah. And at that time, these things were actually quite important commodities. So what happened with Julius Caesar?
First, as I can remember, there were two invasions. I mean, botched invasions. One of them in 55 or something like 54?
55 BC.
55 BC. The first one was pretty short. Maybe some days or a week, and it was an opposed landing by the Celtic tribes, maybe the Trigobantes, or I'm not sure what, or maybe the Belgae. I'm not sure.
They definitely fought them back anyway.
Yes. On the Red Cliffs of Dover, it was a contested landing, and as I know it, some of the ships were wrecked as well. or
Yeah,
something. But
they brought over a few legions, but they didn't have.
yeah.
It didn't seem to pan out for them, basically, on that. On both occasions, of course, because Caesar wasn't the one who eventually conquered and set up a rule over England, or Britain, shall we say, just for ease. So after Caesar, obviously he tried and failed, and then he ended up not being the ruler of the Roman Empire any longer. So what happened after him?
Claudius happened first. Caligula, I think. First Caligula, and then Claudius happened, who was in connection with Caesar bloodline or something like this, I think, as I can remember. And this Emperor Claudius was a frail man. So, as I know it, as I can remember, he wanted to prove that
Yes.
he's a divine or divinity, divine being or divinity, and that's why it was like a vanity project for him, that if Julius Caesar couldn't conquer it and I can conquer this land here, then I'm even better than Julius Caesar. And he set out conquering. I mean, first amassing, gathering all the troops and the army and whatsoever, and then going to Britain, which, as I can remember, that landing was unopposed.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, obviously, Claudius wasn't trusted. He wasn't seen as someone who was had the same kind of, was in the same vein as Julius Caesar anyway.
Hasn't had the gravity.
The gravitas is a nice way of putting it. Yeah, he didn't have the same pull, the same leadership qualities, or in people's opinions. So,
because he was a hunchback, or he had something like a limb.
Definitely something. Yeah, some kind of issue that made people think that he wasn't worthy for the position.
Yes.
So then he eventually obviously took over in 43 AD. The interesting thing I learned this time round when I researched, because we talked about this many times, and I've done lots of research in the past, so I haven't had a look in a long time. But they conquered Colchester, which may seem like nothing to many people, but it's an important place.
It is one of the most important places, most important historical places in Britain. Not too many people know about it, and I think this is the place where you are from, in Essex.
Not quite. I'm not miles away, but I'm not far away from there. But yeah, I'm not from Colchester, but I didn't know that they conquered it in that year, which is the interesting thing for me. And I guess that the name Colchester came after they got there, because I know like some place names like Chester, like Leicester, the Emperor Leicester is a Roman word, or what Roman?
From Castor, which means castle, I think, or something like a garrison. Yeah, quite likely. So the name, I guess, wasn't given to it until they got there, but it was the capital. It was the capital by the name Camulodunum or something. Camulodunum.
Yeah, so Catavellauni, maybe.
That was the tribe. I think, who lived there. The Celtic tribe, the Catavellauni, and Caratacus was their leader, or something like that.
Yeah. So they took. Obviously, London wasn't there before then.
It wasn't.
No. So, in terms of what impact they had in the first, say, 50 years, because they were there for nearly 300, 400 years, between 300 and 400 years. So, in terms of the impact they had like kind of an immediate one. Obviously, they didn't immediately build London, but within the first 50 to 100 years, they would have done so. So, London is a very important place for this time frame.
But first, it wasn't. It was just, as I know it, it was just a fisherman's town or something.
It was just a place, yeah. It wasn't.
Yeah,
There was
it was
no.
just a place by the name of Londinium. That's
Yeah. That's right.
Londinium, London.
Yeah.
Fishermen or some veteran legionaries were there as well. I think who were veterans, and that something rings a bell here, but I'm not quite sure. But it wasn't that important back then.
I'm trying to work out when they built London, because it's obviously a very, very important part now. Whilst obviously Colchester would have been the more important part at the time. London is obviously now more well known. Oh, here you go. 80 AD, around about 80 AD, they built more things there. So maybe more government buildings.
Because, for example, because after some decades, I think they divided Britannia Provincia into two parts, and here Camulodunum, called modern-day Colchester, was the capital of Britannia area, and the other half, which was governed by, I think, Suetonius Paulinus, someone else. I'm not sure about the name. That was Britannia Inferior, and it also had a capital city by the name of Eboracum, which is modern-day York.
Okay, interesting.
So it wasn't London anywhere at all. It was Colchester and York, which were the most important, most capital cities back then.
Well, the interesting thing is that I just after Googling, unfortunately, because I didn't actually check out this beforehand. Obviously, London's being built, but it's not necessarily the capital. It doesn't become the capital until the 9th century, which is very interesting, I think. Something that I never knew. So Colchester would have taken precedent for the majority of the time, I guess, while they were there. As it's probably already built, I'd assume. Not completely built, of course, in their kind of standards. But talking of places and what the Romans would have done, they actually made the planning for each town much more Romanesque, as in like a grids, rather than maybe before it's a bit higgledy-piggledy.
Yes, exactly. Because before that, as I said it, there were forests, wilderness whatsoever. And the Romans, after dominating, the Celts, they started to build roads, which was at that time the highway. It can be called a modern highway of the ancient times. That was the highway for the troops, for the army, for trade, for everything actually. And it's interesting because I don't know if you know it, but for example, I think A1 and M1 was on the same roads.
I saw a map today, and I was looking through it, and I was thinking, there's one road that goes from Exeter to part way through the country, and I'm like, that's still there. That's a similar road. There's probably some tweaks to it, of course, but the groundworks for a lot of the main motorways.
The groundwork, A1 and M1, which still exists in England from York to maybe Exeter, I don't know which other city, but it's definitely
M1 goes from London to Scotland. I'm not sure. I'm not a driver, so I don't know much about.
But definitely through York as well.
I think that one's from London upwards.
Yes.
But it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. They put in all of those important things that we now really take for granted today. Whilst it's not every single road in the country, of course, but like the predominant ones. So it's important infrastructure that they're putting in place.
Yeah,
is the key point.
Yes, for everything: trade, troops, money, anything, people. That was a super highway back then.
Have you ever been to Bath?
I've never been to, but I wanted to travel to.
Yeah, obviously that must also, I don't know the history of it. I've been there once. I didn't really pay enough attention to the history, but obviously Bath is well known for the Roman baths that are there, so it must have had an important...
The name is telling, Bath. Why is it a bath? But there were Roman back there.
Yeah, exactly. So it must have had a very important part of history. Again, not
Yes.
something that... A key thing, sorry, I've got to tell everyone that we are not historians in any way, shape or form. We're just guys interested in history. So whilst we are English teachers, we both believe that going beyond that and looking into the history is important to teaching as well, because you learn about where the words come from, then we can show some links to students who are interested in it. It's just another facet of teaching. It's not a necessity, but for me, I feel it's important. It helps me explain things a lot easier anyway.
Exactly. That's what I use it for as well. Explaining things, you know, the connection between English and Latin languages. And, you know, if learners start learning word classes, they can make connection more easily, maybe, you know, like communication, community, command, and they've got to say prefixes, com, so that's it.
Exactly. Prefixes and suffixes can be very helpful, I think. If you take submarine, for example, is good, where sub means under, and then, well, a form of under or something similar. And
there's like raincoat, rain check, rainbow, like this.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some factors that people can take from words that carry over to other words, which is very useful. Hi, Tika, by the way.
Hello, Tika. Lovely.
So it's very, very useful, I think, to know these things. Submerge, another good one. Yeah, 100%.
Sub. Yes, exactly. The prefix sub is Roman.
Definitely. So, and obviously we get these suffixes and prefixes from various places, but they're very useful if you want to have those a unity between words. It helps you understand the word without even knowing it sometimes. So.
And for example, as you mentioned, it's like Chester, Colchester, or Lancaster, and things. This Chester and Caster endings are from the Roman word castrum, I think, and they meant city or garrison in Latin.
So that's where we've got an interesting one, because I was thinking, like, people always question, like Leicester, for example. Obviously, the ending is from Roman origin. I don't know about the start without researching, but it's interesting when people talk about town names and place names within England, because it has so many different places that they've been affected. Like in the north, you'll find the more Viking influence or Norse influenced names than maybe less so in the south, and that's how historians can find out where the people lived from each place, just through the names of the towns. Like it's really fascinating in that kind of sense.
Exactly. Like there are a lot of boroughs or boroughs in the north. There are a lot of there are a lot of wigs, and there are a lot of what was the other one ending? What was the other ending? Borough, wig, and
is Tun from I can't remember where Tun's from. Such a long time ago that I did all this research. I wish I carried on, but
yeah, but there's a really okay, it's gonna pop into my head. I'm gonna say it, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, so then obviously probably the next most important thing that happens along the timeline. There's some obviously different little bits. Boadicea is a good example.
Yes.
Someone who's very famous.
Yes, exactly. I think 61 AD, 64 AD, something like this. 60 AD.
I can tell you the exact time. 61. Yeah, you got it.
61 AD. Yes, Boudica or Boudicea, or there's a lot of pronunciations and spellings as well. Yeah. She was the queen of the Iceni or Iceni tribe in which is the county? It's
East Anglia.
East Anglia, exactly, in East Anglia. And she was the queen of the Iceni tribe. She had a husband, Prestigius, I think, who made Nero, the Emperor Nero,